Of all the puzzles buried beneath our feet, one has lingered longer than most. It's the question of whether Neanderthals, our closest extinct relatives ever, reached the Mediterranean island of Malta. For over a century, the answer has drifted in and out of scientific favor. But now, the mystery is stirring again. And what if the truth rewrites everything we thought we knew about early human migration? Welcome to Prehistoric Medievals. If you love ancient secrets, forgotten bones, and stories that challenge the timeline of humanity, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's dive deep. The story begins not in our time, but in the trenches of World War I. Amid global upheaval, an unassuming discovery was made inside a cave known locally as Gynecia Dalamthi Cave of Darkness. A local researcher, Dr. Giuseppe Despot, unearthed 2 teeth buried deep in red cave earth beneath layers filled with fossilized bones of pygmy hippopotamuses. One of those teeth caught the eye of Sir Arthur Keith, an influential British anatomist and anthropologist who believed it bore striking resemblance to Neanderthal molars found in mainland Europe. This was 1917. The field of paleoanthropology was still young. The concept of human evolution itself was only just settling into scientific acceptance. So when Keith cautiously suggested a Neanderthal might have once stood on Maltese soil, the idea was greeted with curiosity and skepticism. And yet, Keith wasn't prone to exaggeration. He noted the tooth's thick enamel, the robust root structure, and wear patterns that echoed Neanderthal morphology from sites like La Ferrassie and Krapina. At a 1924 meeting of the Royal Anthropological Institute, Keith presented his case. Malta may not have been as isolated in the Pleistocene as once thought. Maybe, just maybe, Neanderthals had made their way to this tiny island. Pause and imagine that. A Neanderthal standing on a sun-drenched cliff in Malta, long before the temple builders, staring out across a glacial sea. And if that image captures your imagination, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals for more explorations like this. There's a lot more coming. But of course, the scientific world doesn't move on imagination alone. Over time, Keith's Neanderthal theory fell out of favor. Later excavations in Gynecia Dalam uncovered Neolithic pottery, human bones from later periods, and tools that seemed far removed from anything distinctly Paleolithic. Scholars argued that the tooth might have belonged to a robust early Homo sapiens, or perhaps was misplaced by later cave dwellers who disturbed the original layers. For decades, the idea of a Neanderthal in Malta faded. The island's prehistory became defined by its megalithic temples and its Neolithic farmers' knot by archaic humans. And yet, Keith's original findings were never fully discredited, they just faded from the spotlight. That's where the story might have ended, but science, like history, has a way of circling back. And in recent years, as new techniques emerged and old bones were re-examined, the ancient whispers of Gynecia Dalam grew louder. In 2016, a small group of researchers re-evaluated the lithic materials from the original dig, and something unexpected surfaced. Some of the crude tools found near the tooth closely resembled Mousterian artifact stone tools long associated with Neanderthals across Europe. Flakes, scrapers, and cores once dismissed as broken rocks were now being taken seriously, and that tooth the Gare de la molar was scanned, measured, and digitally reconstructed. This time, the analysis suggested something unmistakable. The grooves, the ridges, the enamelit had all the hallmarks of Neanderthal craftsmanship. And more than 100 years after Keith's cautious conclusion, modern anthropologists were starting to reconsider. Had Neanderthals really crossed the Mediterranean? Stick around, because what comes next may surprise you, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals so you don't miss the next chapter in this evolving mystery. To understand just how bold the Neanderthal in Malta theory really is, we have to take a closer look at the Ice Age world itself. Today, Malta is a rocky archipelago, perched in the central Mediterranean, about 90 kilometers south of Sicily. But rewind to the last glacial maximum, about 20 years ago, and the map looks very different. Sea levels were lower, drastically lower, by as much as 120 meters. Vast stretches of what is now ocean were then dry land. Some reconstructions suggest that during glacial periods, Malta may have been much closer to the Sicilian coaster, even part of a larger landmass. And if elephants and pygmy hippos could somehow make their way there, is it really unthinkable that Neanderthals might have too? And if you're fascinated by these ancient possibilities, don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals. Every new subscriber helps us keep digging deeper. Now, Neanderthals weren't the primitive brutes they were once made out to be. That outdated stereotype that they were hunched, dull, and doomed has long been dismantled. Archaeology has revealed they used fire, wore jewelry, created symbolic art, and buried their dead with care. In places like Gibraltar, southern Italy, and even the Channel Islands, evidence suggests Neanderthals may have traveled by sea or at least explored coastal environments in ways early researchers never imagined. In light of this, a short sea crossing, say, between Sicily and Malta starts to feel less outrageous. Simple rafts or driftwood might have been enough. After all, we now know that early humans reached islands like Crete over 100 years ago. If they could do it, perhaps Neanderthals could too. But here's where things get really intriguing. Alongside the fossil tooth and stone tools, G. Junitar Dalam also revealed something else: the bones of extinct megafauna creatures like pygmy elephants and the famous hippopotamuses. These animals didn't swim across vast oceans. They walked, most likely during periods when land bridges formed. So, if land was accessible to large mammals, why not to hominins? And if you're enjoying this forgotten chapter of prehistory, give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories just like this coming soon. Still, there are challenges. The stratigraphied layering of sediment and materials in Gingee Tar Dalamis deeply disturbed. Later, Neolithic occupants left behind pottery, tools, and human remains that confused the archaeological record. It's difficult to be absolutely certain which objects came from which time. The molar itself, while highly suggestive, is just one piece. Without additional skeletal remains or clearer tool typology, many scientists hesitate to make a firm declaration. But hesitation is not dismissal. And in science, uncertainty doesn't mean unimportance, it means we have more to learn. In 2023, researchers again reviewed the famous molar using high-resolution imaging. The cusp pattern, the groove angles, and the enamel structure aligned more with Neanderthal dental morphology than with Homo sapiens. Though the results were still cautious, they reopened the debate once more. And this time, the world was listening. If Neanderthals did make it to Malta, it would be a revelation. It would mean these early humans weren't just hardy survivors of European forests, but explorers capable of crossing water, adapting to new environments, and expanding into territories we once thought impossible. And just imagine what else might be waiting beneath Malta's soil: forgotten tools, lost bones, a second tooth. Each artifact a whisper from an ancient visitor, a Neanderthal perhaps, who stood beneath the same sky we know today. This is why the question matters. It's not just about Maltates, about the entire story of humanity, how far we spread, how we adapted, and how many chapters remain untold. So whether that molar truly belonged to a Neanderthal, or simply to a very ancient cousin, it has already done something remarkable. It's made us look closer, dig deeper, and question what we thought we knew about the boundaries of the past. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Prehistoric Medials and help us explore the ancient shadows of forgotten worlds. Because sometimes the smallest fossils reveal the biggest stories.